disrupt so many aspects of our lives. We're just learning today Augusta's Arts in the Heart Festival is canceled for the second year in a row. That event is supposed to happen in September, but instead organizers are hoping to put on a new, smaller, safer event in its place. They're going to call it the Art City Festival. It would happen the third weekend in September. Organizers hope to plan an outdoor event that will showcase artists while boosting the local economy, but COVID already affecting events as far out as September. Another thing changing during the pandemic, healthcare. With an overall aging population, private home care was a growing industry before the pandemic. Add in COVID and the fact that people are trying to distance from nursing homes, you get a recipe for a booming industry. Our City Heiberger dives into the rise of home care locally.
When you remember that more than a quarter of all COVID-related deaths come from nursing homes, it's not really a surprise that people are trying to keep their loved ones out of them. The problem now, though, as more people are turning to in-home care, the demand far exceeds the supply of caregivers. Home Instead of Augusta says they've seen a 30% increase in clients since COVID started. They've actually had to turn potential clients away due to lack of caregivers. Home care companies are regulated and licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, but not all states require licensing. And though safety procedures must be approved, it's up to the home care companies themselves to create them. Companies like Home Instead say they use CDC and health department guidelines to inform their decisions. Mark Barlow is the owner of the Augusta branch and says he anticipates in the future there will be more pressure on the government to streamline and enforce regulations for home care companies.
As a partner in that continuum of care, we'll see, I'm sure, increase in both regulation and technology and techniques to ensure that we can meet that growing demand and do it safely.
And with that increased demand, some home health workers are having to take on a higher workload, not just because of the increase of patients, but because of healthcare workers getting sick themselves. Tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we talked to a home health worker about her personal experience. Reporting in Augusta, Sydney Heiberger, on your side.
Governor Henry McMaster.
We're home. We're going to hear from one of those nurses firsthand. But first up this evening, we've heard a lot of concern from parents about their kids being back in the classroom right now.
A lot of that concern is in Columbia County, where a lot of kids are in school 5 days a week. We checked cases at Columbia County schools, and as of last Friday, we found all 5 Columbia County high schools have double digits when it comes to student cases.
In-person students in Aiken County are on a hybrid schedule right now. We found a little more than 1,000 students are quarantined there as we speak. That's more than 4.5% of all those students. We're seeing those numbers as the Medical University of South Carolina releases a new study, an interesting study, saying it's actually safer for kids to be in the classroom. Their study, focusing on Charleston County schools, found just 1% of students and staff testing positive during the first semester.
Now here at home, some districts, including Richmond County, are heading back to classes Monday, while others are opting to stay virtual. Freddie Trapnell goes through the decisions schools are having to make.
Rising case numbers across the community, but different responses at area school districts.
If everyone's wearing a face covering, then you can be together safely.
Dr. Caraway, Columbia County Superintendent, says by and large, COVID exposure isn't happening at school, despite going face-to-face 5 days a week and no social distancing in some areas.
They're safe, safer than they would be out in the public. Mixing and mingling and hanging out together.
In Edgefield County, students went back to remote learning today. The superintendent told me they wanted to be proactive and they weren't comfortable with case numbers. He says school officials are going as far as delivering thumb drives and paper packets to homes to keep students engaged. Richmond County schools are eyeing going back face-to-face starting next week, but school officials say it all depends on the case numbers.
In this pandemic, we've balanced student achievement and student safety. Both are very important and are core to the work that we do.
Lynthia Ross with Richmond County says they expect around 60% of students to return for face-to-face classes. Back in Columbia County, some parents are calling for hybrid learning, while others, like Krina Patel, are content.
As long as they're being safe and they're, having their mask and social distancing and washing hands, and I'm happy with it.
And Columbia County is planning to stay 5 days a week.
Our expectation is that the longer we're in school doing all of these right things, that our our numbers should continue to fall.
Reporting in Augusta, Brady Shrapnel on your side.
Some bad news tonight for Augusta's largest festival and all of us who love it. Arts in the Heart canceled for the second year in a row, but organizers hope to put on a smaller, safer event instead. They're calling this one Art City Festival. It would happen the third week of September. Organizers say they're working on ways to make it safe while also showcasing our artists and boosting the local economy.
Taking a look out over downtown Augusta.
Have been able to get the vaccine.
By contrast, in the last 2 days in Georgia, more than 112,000 people have been vaccinated. Governor Kemp gave an update today on where the Peach State stands with the virus. Daily case numbers and deaths are now even higher in Georgia than they were in the summer.
Our hospitals cannot handle another surge in COVID-19 patients on top of their current workload. This is not an all-clear signal. We've got to continue to keep our foot on the gas.
Health officials say Georgia now has 5 confirmed cases of the COVID variant believed to be more contagious, although the Department of Public Health has not and will not say where those cases are located.
One of the groups threatened most by COVID-19 are people in nursing homes. AARP says more than 136,000 nursing home residents have died from COVID. That's about a third of all COVID deaths here in the U.S. And now a lot of people have moved their loved ones out of nursing homes, and because of that, demand for home health care is skyrocketing. Sydney Heiberger tells us it's putting a strain on the industry in more ways than one.
Certainly, we've seen a growth locally of 30%, probably more than that if you count the fact that the demand has outgrown the number of caregivers I have available.
A demand so high, Mark Barlow says he's had to turn potential clients away from his home care company, Home Instead.
It has grown rapidly as people realize that some of the alternatives to staying home aren't necessarily safe either.
And more people staying home means caregivers like Shakima Baskerville have had to step it up.
We've been filling shifts for caregivers that's been out, and we also have had more clients come on board because of the COVID.
Home care companies are regulated and require licensing in both Georgia and South Carolina, but not all states require licensing for non-medical home care. And while regulatory boards approve company procedures, companies create and follow their own safety guidelines.
Our Home Instead standards, frankly, exceed the state standards.
Mark says his employees follow guidance from the CDC and public health departments.
We give out masks frequently. We have gowns.
It is company policy and it is not mandated.
But with COVID increasing the demand of an already growing business, industry professionals expect regulations from here will only get stricter.
We'll see, I'm sure, increase in both regulation and technology and techniques.
In Augusta, Sydney Heiberger on your side.
There is a distinction between home care and home health care. Home care offers in-home health and companionship. Home health care offers medical treatment. Both are regulated and require licensing in Georgia and South Carolina. You can look at those state regulations on our website.
The pandemic threw a massive curveball in working parents. A lot of us, even here at News 12, reporters, including myself, we've had to pivot and juggle just like so many parents.
And the I-Team found more women leaving the workforce at 4 times the rate as men. When daycares and schools shut down, mothers take the bulk of that responsibility. The I-Team's Liz Owens looks at the long-term implications.
Let's start with a brief history lesson. Most American women did not work outside the home in the mid-20th century, but World War II changed that. As soldiers went overseas, women were needed in the factories. In the 60s and 70s, the women's movement gave way to equal rights and opportunity in the workforce, and more women than ever in the 90s were working outside the home. Now, in 2021, we're seeing another shift as the pandemic forces more women than ever to go back home.
Basic school supplies that my kids may need while I'm homeschooling, and then a clock because we're going to be teaching them how to tell time this year.
Life is nothing like the before times.
How is this January compared to last January?
Let's just go back a day.
Actually, as of yesterday was 10 years. It would have been 10 years. I know.
Christy Caputa spent the last decade working as an assistant physical therapist at an Augusta hospital. A few weeks ago,
it's hard.
She made one of the hardest decisions of her life. She gave up a career she loved to care for, and now teach the ones she loves the most.
A daycare was shut down, and they was shut down for like a couple weeks, which is hard to manage.
Juggling a full-time position and 4 children under the age of 7 during a pandemic became too difficult.
When you take away one of the primary sources of child care, which is happening in daycare centers and happening in schools, the obligation is just sort of reverts back to women.
Dr. Dustin Avant-Holt is a professor of sociology at Augusta University.
There's this clash between their responsibilities to take care of children who are now not able to go to school and their responsibility in the workplace. They're being forced to choose staying at home. And so this is creating a model that looks just like it was 25 plus years ago.
He's right about more working women are leaving the workforce. The I-Team requested data from the Georgia Department of Labor and found in just the first 6 months of 2020, 485,000 women filed unemployment claims in the state, an astonishing 708% increase from the previous year. Nationwide, more than 12 million women's jobs were lost during the peak of the pandemic last year. Only half have returned to work. Data shows job losses hit Black women the hardest. Augusta mother Thais Wells lost her only source of income this past summer. Around the same time,
right now is very difficult.
She learned she had cancer.
It can get hard. Being a single parent, it can get really, really hard.
Have you felt like you've had to choose between career and health or career and daughter or all three?
All three.
A new job or even in-class learning for her daughter would mean risking exposure.
You only get one you.
Thus, risking her life.
Oh yes, very, very wrong.
Stacey Gardner is trying just to keep up with life.
I feel like there's so many balls juggling, you don't know which one's going to fall at what time.
She's juggling 2 small businesses at Surrey Center in Augusta.
You don't know who's going to call what day with, I need to go get tested today or I can't be there today.
And 2 small children.
And still juggle this, it's been quite an act, as you well know, you know?
Oh yes, I know. March will make a year that I've been performing my own juggling act from home. Yes, ma'am.
So it is really incumbent then on employers to think about how to structure a kind of family-friendly workplace.
Which he believes would keep more women in the workforce.
When anyone leaves the labor force, their promotion prospects, their status when they re-enter into the workforce is generally worse than a person who maintains continuous employment.
Christy will maintain her training and license. She is pressing pause on her career to play a new role in this new world.
We decided for our family that's what's best for our children at this time.
Thais is working her way back into the workforce, picking up work as a marketer and decorator.
I just try to think of other ways to try to get in, to bring in income.
In-store sales are down, but Stacey made adjustments to keep revenue flowing and her workers employed. She launched an online shop.
I think the whole dynamic of a workforce is changing.
Different careers, different backgrounds, different challenges, but all mothers doing what mothers do best, loving and supporting their families to the best of their abilities. Companies with flexible PTO and family leave are the most likely to keep working mothers and fathers too employed. In the long haul, experts say this has saved the company time and money in recruitment and training. Liz Owens, on your side.
All right, thanks for that, Liz. Such a tough time for so many people working their own juggling out there. Switching gears here, a bill that would ban abortions after
at Malcolm Cunningham Chevrolet.
Malcolm Cunningham, we make it easy.
MalcolmCunninghamChevrolet.com.
A local chef got the chance of a lifetime last year. He was handpicked to travel across South Carolina to help build relationships with chefs and farmers.
It was all cut short by the pandemic. Nick Proto talks to that chef today who says he's getting another chance.
It's not work, I enjoy coming here.
Jason Tuff's love for the kitchen started by learning from his Italian grandmother.
She really helped me develop a love for food and for nurturing people with food.
The Aiken native has spent his entire adult life in the kitchen, from Applebee's in college to executive chef in Malia's since 2017.
I like to add my own little flair.
Last year, Tufts was one of 4 chefs chosen for the South Carolina Chef Ambassadors program. The program was started in 2014 to bridge the gap between farmers and restaurants. Tufts loves cooking with locally sourced food, so it was a perfect match.
And we built some great relationships here for the restaurant and the community. It's just a really great way to come together as a community and help each other out.
They traveled across the state to different cooking demonstrations and discussions before COVID forced them to shut down in April.
Kind of left you with that taste in your mouth, like I really want to do this. We had some really awesome events lined up for last year.
Thankfully for Tufts and the others, they're getting another chance this year. He says it's been a lot of hard work.
Nights, weekends, holidays, miss kids' birthdays, miss spouse birthdays.
His advice to young chefs, embrace it.
Don't be afraid of hard work. You are going to put in a lot of effort, a lot of hours, and that's it. Roll up your sleeves, put your head down, and learn as much as you can.
Sounds like a recipe for success. In Aiken, Nick Proto, on your side.
And congratulations to Jason doing something he loves and now doing it statewide.
Yeah, I'm glad to see the plans have picked back up since so many have been put on hold. Okay, Riley, looking outside today, it is
returns by Saturday.
All right, Riley, thanks. You know, it's always good to recognize one of our young athletes having success. Mike catches up with our latest local playing at the next level. It's all ahead tonight in sports.
On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
You always want to see the good players have their success. Good isn't just their skills and abilities on the court or the field, but their character and work ethic that really embodies good. When we're talking about good ones, Cross Creek's Corey Trotter is certainly among the best. The 3-year starter has been the embodiment of putting your head down and getting to work for the Razorbacks during his 3 years as a varsity starter. Now he'll get his opportunity at the next level after signing his national letter of intent to play at Miles College. While Trotter has enjoyed his successful high school career, he's definitely looking forward to getting to the next level.
I'm very excited. I'm ready for it because I've been thinking. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to go experience something new and be different now. Yeah.
A number of games came down to the last second last night, but how about this from Cole Anthony? An absolute stunner as the Magic just sneaked by the Timberwolves.
Parenting in a pandemic, a curveball no one saw coming.
It can get hard being a single parent.
Side Team uncovers women are leaving the workforce in record numbers. Are decades of progress being undone? Tonight at 6 o'clock on News 12.
Want to brain